Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us again. This is the Abilite Podcast, and we're really excited to be here in a new location. And we're here with Jordan.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
And today we're going to be talking about utilizing spaces for inclusivity. I think that pretty much that's the broad
kind of a community approach. Yeah.
Right. So
Covers all the bases.
Yeah. The important thing that Abilite is trying to do is create more opportunities for people who have disabilities or are underprivileged to really spend some of their efforts or a lot of their efforts doing more environmental and sustainable activities to make the world a better place. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to talk to Jordan here about some of the things that he's already done in the past and some of the things that you plan to do in the future. And then we can talk about some of the stuff that we're going to do together.
Yes.
I love it.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization?
Yeah, I guess I could just start with, I'm an artist, I'm a Christian, and I am a huge advocate for change. I grew up in Akron, Ohio. I moved around a lot, so I was exposed to a bunch of cultures, and being able to go from living in the suburbs to living in the city to going to all white school to all black to multicultural schools. Like, it was just all the things. And I think that really shaped a lot of who I've become. And I think just understanding the nuances of life and people. And I think when I went to school first at Claflin University in South Carolina, and then eventually went to school in Savannah and in Atlanta as well. And so I went to art school, SCAD, and studied photography. And it was there that I really learned the importance of like storytelling, and that art could be a means of storytelling. And
I think it's a really important.
Yeah.
What they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
SCAD's an amazing place too.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I've driven through all of those places, but never actually stopped because it was a reason I had to get someplace else, like Key West or something.
My little sister's named Savannah, so I stopped and took a bunch of Savannah pictures and kept moving. But
Beautiful. But yeah, so went to school, and when I finished, I was like, man, where do I want to go? And like, I changed my life at that time. I was studying the Bible when I was in school in Savannah, and I prayed like, man, like, God, I'm gonna be the first one in my family to graduate from college, and like, what do you want me to do, and how do you want me to use my gifts? And I watched this documentary, and I broke down in tears, and like, I was like, okay, like, I feel like this is the place that I'm called to go to, which was Chicago.
What documentary?
It was done by Vice. I can't remember the name.
Oh, I love Vice.
But it was done by Vice, and it was about Chicago, and I was just like, dude, I gotta go there. Yeah. And so I moved here. Literally like 4 days after my graduation, I just moved here. I stayed with my uncle, working for Walgreens, and like jumped right into the art scene of like working with non-for-profits. Cause I was like, man, one of the things I noticed is that a lot of non-for-profits didn't have a lot of strong visual representation to capture and like show the essence of their work. And for me, I wanted to use my skills to do that. So I started finding out different nonprofits. I had documented for a bunch of them on the South Side. Then I approached the Defender newspaper, one of the eldest Black-owned film newspapers in the country. So try to get a job with them as a journalist, photojournalist, and that didn't happen. So I'm over here discouraged. I'm like, what do? I don't want to be a starving artist, all that. And I met Damon Lothridge, and he was shooting a film, and that led to us going to New York. But on that trip is when I met John Bill, and John Bill is a force to be reckoned with. This guy was loud, skinny, vibracious, just all the things, but he was an artist as well. And one of the things that stood out to me about him was that he said he wanted to bring the arts ministry to Chicago.
Okay.
And I knew for me, I was big on like challenging and being countercultural, and like I'm a mover and a shaker.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's why we get along.
Yeah. Like, I don't wait. He doesn't wait for people to give him a yes. I'm the same. I'm like, if I see a problem or if there's a pothole, I'm like, how do we fill it?
Yeah.
Like, what can we do with what we have to address that? And so he and I worked together to like do projects around the city. So we had our first show called Echoes and Whispers that we did in Greater Grand Crossing. And then we did another show over here on Chicago Ave, right in East Garfield Park. And then from there, we started to realize like art is not only something that's for ourselves, but it can be a vehicle to move community. And that's when we decided like, man, we should create a nonprofit.
Creates
Right.
emotion in people, and that's what creates change. I mean,
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. The part that I love the most is like, whoever your higher power is, it doesn't matter, but like you tried to go to the defender and it didn't work out, and you were patient enough to hear those like signs, and it led you down another path, and you had something better. And I think I work a sober program, and there's a lot of that happens. Where like, so you try to do something, and then there's signs that wasn't for you because something greater is coming, and you have to be patient. So it takes a lot of strength to be patient like that and keep moving forward and read the signs. And so, and you keep doing it every day, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool.
I mean, this building is a reflection of that.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, where are we now that you're talking about the building? Yeah.
Well, honestly, right now
segue.
we are in what I would say is the power of belief. We're in a space that was thought about, believed in before it was manifested today. And this is our new home. It's alt space. And that's crazy to say because we've only been in here for about 2.5 months now.
Okay.
So it's definitely still a newborn baby.
Yeah. I love it.
Which is a blessing. So that's where we're at, man. Right here in Austin, 5645 West Corcoran Place.
I mean, to work in the banking industry 10 years and then walk in to see what you're doing with an old bank. It's amazing. It was like, because I originally went to school for art, and then I left school and worked at the Chicago Board of Trade and went back and got an economics degree. So it's like I had this very diverse change, but I wasn't always an artist. You know what I mean? Yeah. When I lived in Vegas, I was in finance, but all of my friends were the Cirque du Soleil people. You know what I mean? So it's like there's always like this like
they can do that here.
Dramatic,
Invite them.
Always that. So there's that deep connection to art that I have. So when I found out you're doing it here again, like a merging of two of my worlds, it almost is.
Wow.
I was kind of it created emotion, like you said. Yeah.
And it's crazy because I didn't even know it was a bank when I first came here because it used to be Catholic Charities Totem Peace Center.
Okay.
And so that was new news to me this year.
That's cool.
Because when I first came, I had photographed a woman who was working with Precious Blood Ministry Reconciliation over in New City. And I was like, man, I remember taking a photograph and I was like, I want to give this to her because this image is gorgeous. And I learned that she worked here. So I said, let me find out if I can give her this photograph. And came here and gave it to her. And that was the first time I ever came into this building. That was probably 4 years ago now. Yeah.
Wow.
That was 4 years ago.
Okay.
Didn't think anything of it.
Right.
That just happened, did that. And then last year, literally around this same time, today is the actual day that I emailed George, who worked for Catholic Charities.
Okay.
Today.
No way.
Is the day before John's 1 year anniversary.
Wow.
Of his, today is going to be the 2nd year anniversary of his passing.
Wow.
But I felt the Spirit just say, like, reach out. And I did. And now I'm in here.
And we didn't know that when we asked you to sit down with us today. So I think that's just amazing.
Literally today.
The least I knew, the better. I want to be surprised about the story. I definitely want to do.
That's what we're all about. This whole ADHD nature of what we've got going on.
We're going to be bouncing around.
Oh, I gotta love it. And then we bounce around so much that it could not be refilmed. So I mean, you can't go back and do it again. It just got to be
absolutely
a one shot and be organic, and that's part of the beauty. This is a community bank, and then a community faith, and then the faith wanted it to be this new, a new way to help the community. That's kind of the way I see it. Just kind of keeps rolling forward as a building that's there to help. You know what I mean? In whatever way it can. And so, I love that connection. That's cool.
So, to bring us back to where you were saying before about art. So I've been on. I know. I'm like, okay, what am I thinking about now? I'm totally on the opposite side, where I never really understood art. I mean, I was a music journalist for a while, so music was art, but music was like a world that was like my life, and it didn't seem like it was art so much. And it wasn't until too long ago, because I've been running EarthPaint for 12 years. And I was like, art was never really something that I thought about until somebody says, everything that you do here is art.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, now I'm starting to understand, because you're living art. You're actually, everything that we do is art to somebody, and it was completely lost on me. And so that's kind of what drew us together originally. Because how did you find us originally?
Dude, well, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I was researching, and this is even before I was doing murals or anything like that. I don't even know why I was researching recycled paint. Okay. I have no idea, but then found you guys, and I was like, what the heck? Like, there is a company that does recycled paint. And so I learned that you guys have moved from the city, because I guess y'all were up north, like near Old Town area before. So you had a pop-up.
Oh, yeah. We had a pop-up in Humboldt Park.
Yep.
And
so I'm like,
that was a huge failure, because there was a huge blizzard that happened the day that our pop-up was supposed to open. But the good thing is that WGN came out and actually did a story about us, and that really kind of did some really good PR for the things that we were doing. And even though we didn't get a single customer come into our pop-up store, we built that thing for like 2 weeks. And
but it led you to another place, right?
It did, I know. I mean, so wow, I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay,
so
awesome.
I was committed, and so once I learned that you guys had moved locations, I got the opportunity to do a mural right over here in Austin, and I was like, man, it'd be great if we could use recycled paint.
Yeah,
and that was it. Yeah. That was it. It was just like, let's use recycled paint. And so I reached back out, and the first person I talked to wasn't even you. It was Tyler, or who's the other brother?
There's Tony.
Tony.
I did have a guy named Tyler for a little bit.
Sorry,
too, so
not Tyler.
That was a
Tony.
long time ago.
Excuse me, Tony.
Yeah,
but Tony was the guy that I talked to, and I was just like, yeah, man, I'm painting a 130-foot by 40-foot mural. I need paint. Yeah. These are the colors. So we're texting. And
I'm sure he was like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Literally. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to come out there. Like, this is what we need, blah, blah, blah. And it was just a great experience. But for me, it was like an opportunity to meet 2 points, right? The first point was I was looking back at the history of Chicago, and there's a artist by the name of William Walker. William Walker Evans, I believe. And he did the Wall of Respect. And he did it on the South Side, where he pulled all these different artists together to do a mural. And it had changed the game when it came to public murals in the nation. And so I was like, man, when you look at this space,
I'm going to Google it right now so I can see it all.
Yeah, this facade, this space on this first Black-owned fitness center on Chicago Avenue, the TNC Fitness Center, that I wanted it to use as an opportunity to pull as many artists on this project. And I wanted to do it in another way of going deeper by saying, well, how can we talk about environmental justice with this mural? Because it's called Human Nature. And what we spoke about within the mural in terms of the actual renderings was the health upon physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and social health. And so each vessel on the mural, each artist had a different topic that they were focusing on. And so I was like using this as an opportunity to say, hey, let's talk about environmental health as well by using recycled paint.
Yeah.
And that's when.
And you didn't even know at the time that the recycled paint was made by an entire group of people with special needs.
Not an idea.
So, and so not only did you get to use a product that was environmentally friendly, but it was made by people who really weren't given an opportunity anywhere else. And we created that opportunity that led us back to here, because we've been working together now in this building for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. It feels longer though. It's crazy.
I know,
in a
right?
good thing, in a good way. Like,
right. Yeah.
No, I love the energy, and that's like you're saying, is a blessing too. Because I had no idea, but once that component was added onto the story, it really gave me great joy and peace, because that's something I witnessed growing up. You know, my mother is still a caretaker for my aunt who's disabled. You know, and so for me, it's like I've always had an affinity and a connection to brothers and sisters who were of that community, and finding ways to still show love and like provide some form of light to who they are and what they bring and what they offer to the world.
It's like lumping in multiple goods into one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just kind of cool. It compounds itself almost.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And then really that's what this whole idea is about, is that everybody has a chance to make a difference and everybody has an ability. And so we're kind of weeding out that term disability.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, is to turn really good things into opportunities that people anywhere with any ability.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that this space here is going to really encourage more people to participate and stuff like that.
And have a place that everybody can come together and meet. There's nothing like face to face. Even like you know, you're saying something about art, and I mean, there's all different forms of art. You know what I mean? And so,
the stuff that I see was like this banana taped to a wall sold for millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what the heck is that? I wish that I was that guy, you know. But art's so much bigger, and like there's just so much more to it that I'm excited to learn about and experience directly through you.
Symbolism, man, it plays a huge role.
Still to this day, being in like a live music area, you know, where you're around a group of people and you're hearing live music, you know what I mean?
It's electrifying.
And you're just all in the same sync. It's something that you can't, you know what I mean, that does not comprehend to listening to it on your earbuds.
Absolutely
not. It is not the same. So, I mean, bringing people together and then having art and, you know, and people feel welcome and just trying to find out what they're interested in and what they're good at, and piecing those people together I just think it's nothing but good, compounding goods together. Absolutely. It's cool.
So let's talk a second about maybe your goals for this next year.
I like it.
Well, each year I have one word that I try to focus on for myself, but also for the company. And this year, coming up 2025, our focus is going to be on depth. So really thinking about what does it mean to go deeper. And I started conducting my research around the word depth. Like, what is it? What does it mean? And the first video I watched was actually about art. And it was surprising because like that didn't even dawn on me as I was thinking about. I was thinking more about like the intellectual, emotional, spiritual stuff. Like what does it mean to go deeper into connection with self and people and all that? But then the first video I watched was this lady talking about like the rule of thirds, like the foreground, middle ground. I'm like, this is the stuff we talk about in photography all the time. But that didn't come to mind. So it was really exciting because it added another layer. And I think in the same way, I see things being revealed and unearthed within this space that we're in currently. And I see it becoming a beacon amongst other beacons of great assets in the Austin community. That's going to be
cool. That's a good word.
Yeah.
I think like in a society that we have a lot of surface level noise with social media, that's the only thing that penetrates it, is like authenticity and that depth of connection. It's the only thing that gets through that noise, really. You know what I mean? In a real way. And so any way that you can find to do that and bring people together and, you know, off their phones is going to be good, you know.
Boy, oh boy. And I mean, I've learned over time, you know, how much of a tool social media is. And it's a powerful tool, right? And I've always been, like you talked about before, like an in-person person. You know, like I love like sitting next to someone, being able to look them in the eye and like have a conversation. It's just something about it. But I also understand like access, you know,
the power of access.
Yeah. And like access to information is a great thing, but showing people what they can do with it, right? That's the next thing, is like, now that you have this knowledge, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to like shape something or create something or cultivate things or whatever, or challenge something? I don't know. That's the thing I'm always thinking about. And so going deeper for us next year with this space.
Having access. Yeah, right. Having access to all those people, you'll be able to get your word out, but not at the sake of like foregoing the connection of face to face either. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you want to be able to do them, but they both have their strength and strengths, I think. And that's a good word. I like that.
I see
like my head goes so many different directions.
I like immediately came to like the literal depth of having the space. I mean, from where we're sitting here, there's got to be 200 feet behind us, and I see big letters that say depth that go all the way towards the back, hung from the ceiling or something like that. That's where my brain went. Right there, literally depth. As you walk by the window here, it says depth, and it goes way back to the back. You know, and each letter gets bigger as you go towards the back. So
I love that. Dude.
Okay, there you go.
That's awesome.
Well, maybe one of our next videos, you'll see that actually come to fruition.
Muy bien.
So, well, I think there's so much to touch on and there's so much to do. And I really wanted this to be just kind of an introduction to us and things that obviously you have a trajectory for this next year, and we would love to help you with that. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. Do you think that there's an opportunity to like bring more people in of every different demographic, I guess you could say, and help with those projects?
Yeah, I think what helps is establishing what our intentions are out front, letting that be known, like who we are, and then allowing the actions to follow. A lot of times, like, we focus on the doing of things versus like the origin, which I feel like if I get to know you and learn who you are as a person, the whys behind what you do and what you don't do, it allows, for a true, authentic connection that I can now support, so now I can send you a text that like lifts you up if you're like, hey man, like this has been challenging me, but because I know what makes you move or how to encourage you or lift you up, I can reach you. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm interested in seeing more of, and like cultivating more of that, so that people know through and through, we may not be like the professionals and we may not be the most experienced in any and all the things that we do.
Never claim to be.
But we're willing to step out and like try things and let people know, hey, our intentions are to create a space that is inclusive, that is compassionate and empathetic, and that seeks to understand, but also seeks, like I said, to be a mover for change, and at the same time, like creating spaces of opportunity. And so,
I like the only thing I'm an expert of is what feels authentic to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then the more I know about it, I just want to see if that is relatable to other people, or whatever feels authentic to them. Is there somebody else that, you know what I mean, that matches with that?
Sure.
And I mean, the more people that you can put together, the sum of them together is always going to be greater than the two parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, separately. So that's really what it is kind of putting that energy together and watching it compound.
Yeah.
I just think it's a great thing. I don't know.
Yeah. And I love what you said. You said like some, because I think for me, what we've always focused on is qualitative versus quantitative, and really making sure that what we're pouring into people is of richness and like fullness, right? Because I'm like, I get exhausted. Sometimes it's mentally, sometimes it's emotionally, not really physically. I feel like I can keep going. Like that part I'm good, but like I do get tired, and that's when I do lean in on people that I can trust and people that are truly have shown themselves to be there for me, because they know who I am, they know what I stand for. And so having that connection in those small groups, really has taken us far. I mean, this company was started with 2 people, and we've been able to, reshape a lot of the city through that connection of he and I, and bouncing off of each other and like challenging one another. But those connections that he and I had led to other strong connections being developed, which led to like a lot of accountability. And I think as we are talking about this space and like how we're going to be inclusive, I think to me, it does reflect that, to have that accountability to the folks that you're working with and the folks that you're serving,
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I love the fact that you're trying to make the city as beautiful as you can. Where's that mural that you were speaking of? Where did you do it?
It's right on 5906 Menard, right on Chicago Avenue.
Okay.
TNC Fitness.
Okay.
Yeah, we call it Human Nature.
I was going to, when I lived in Las Vegas, I lived in downtown Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And so if you've ever been there before, the owner, Zappos or whatever, he ended up passing away, but he sold it to Amazon and then cultivated this like Life is Beautiful festival. And all of the buildings there had full like 50 or 60 foot murals on them that they would change right before that festival every year.
Sick.
And then all the old Burning Man architecture would go and like be permanent there. So you'd like walk and just be like over the 8 years I was there, it would evolve into this amazing.
Yeah.
Every time I'd come back, it'd be different. The tattoos I got were for people that did those murals. I was just like, I loved it so much. It was so cool. And like to be in that environment, it just makes the city so beautiful to just, and you walk past it every day. It just, I don't know, it brightens up your day. and it can inspire somebody. A little
Truly.
portion of it can inspire somebody. So it was just really cool. I got to go check out that mural.
Yeah,
when
dude.
we're done. You should definitely flash it up on the screen here, whatever it is.
I'll try.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
do, you know, with my,
That's our
my,
IT guy,
my,
'cause I
my
can't do
editing
anything.
skills, you know.
We need that green screen.
Yeah. There's too much here already to use it, but that's going to come into play. We've gone from the single camera to 2 cameras to now 3 cameras, which I'm going to really have a good time with as I go back and forth and hopefully make it look as professional as I can.
I love it.
But as far as creating, so I know here we have a couple of things in the background, and so I'd love to touch on the redemptive plastics that you've been doing.
Right. Well, I would be foolish not to. Yeah, I would say redemptive plastics is a response. You know, John and I, when we first started working over here in Austin, we noticed that there was a lot of trash accumulating, litter, and we also noticed that communities that are not well taken care of is also indicative of how the people are treated. And so this was our way of saying, well, how can we kind of hit 3 things at once? You know, how do we beautify the community? How do we educate the community? And how can we empower them? So, and education is empowering, right? Knowledge is empowering, but physically we wanted to give them these experiences that led to more opportunities or more applications. And so we created Alt Space Bin, which stood for Alt Space Beautification Initiative, where we were creating these trash bins out of pallets. So we were using this humble material that you see all around the city. You know, there's a bunch of pallet companies. Herrero's Pallets right down the street, local company in Austin, is what we use to source our wood and upcycle. Thinking of like, how can we use this material to now create trash bins that can now clean up the streets?
Mm-hmm.
So taking somebody else's waste, because it was the wood that they were pretty much done with, the life of it had been done, and we're like, hey, we'll take it. We'll use it.
I got lots of those in my shop.
See, and so we broke them apart. And so we worked with an artist, Abilite Campbell, the first artist that helped us to design the Alt Space bins. And so we started creating these workshops, and we were giving families and kids drills and like, hey, we had a layout of how to build just like IKEA. Like, here's the breakdown of how to build the design of the Alt Space bin, and we were putting them out, and people were sponsoring. So we had 3 ways that you can connect with the project, which was you could sponsor it, you could adopt one, or you can build one. So sponsoring meant you donate it, so that can go to someone. Adopting it meant you were the person responsible for cleaning them out. So we didn't have a partnership with the city, but just like Adopt a Highway, you now have a trash can that you're emptying out. That you're taking care of. Mm-hmm. And then people will come in and build them. And so from there, we realized, like, wow, like we can create a whole system around this issue, but doing it in a fun and engaging way. Moving forward, Cody and Tom of Happy Return Studio were of the same kind of ethos, where they were retrofitting machines, using 3D printers to create all these cool things for different clients. And so for us, it was like, wow, like it'd be dope if we were able to work with them one day. And so this created an opportunity. We saw a grant, Earth Art grant that we had received, and we applied together and said, hey, we want to take these practices of redeeming plastic, which is a singular use item. And we also saw this as a reflection of how people of all different backgrounds, of all different experiences and walks of life, but specifically in the Austin community, are overlooked. And so we were like, how can we, bring some dignity and pride into this and redeem it, just like we are trying to redeem plastic.
Especially in the straight line economy, we're just take things from the ground and use them once and then discard them.
Discard it, bro.
To be able to turn it into something that's beautiful in the community, makes it better. Again, multiple goods kind of compounding. It's awesome.
And it was like working together, predominantly Black organization, working with 2 white guys who are for-profit and we're nonprofit. So literally we were showing, indicating like there's ways to work together on common issues and like have love and care for one another, but then be able to include more community within that and like inspiring other people. So it's something that touches me, where I'm like, dang, like us coming together to just address this one thing, like what else can we do?
Right.
Like what else can we tackle together.
That's where I come in.
Yeah.
I've already been texting you and emailing you at night, like, here's an idea, we should do this.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I want to make this. Just give me pieces and I'll put it together,
Yes.
like you said, like Legos, and I'll make something beautiful out of everything that you see here. So,
where can we find them? Like, where are they around?
They're on our website. So we have our first benches we created. The first one we put at the Austin Library because we understood libraries are resources.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted people to know, like, hey, this is happening right here in your community. We did a whole talk. We worked with the branch manager and did all that. And then we took it to the garden right around the corner. So right past the viaduct, it's Harambe Community Garden.
Okay.
And they have a goat farm and they have like a pizza oven and all that. They're amazing, amazing group who took an abandoned lot with neighbor space and now have water. They have electricity and it's a beautiful garden. So we took benches there. And then we also took it to Mr. Floyd's lot, which is right behind us.
Okay.
And we activated that empty lot just to showcase the process of like, it starts here with this empty space, a space of opportunity. And then it goes to this space that's a community garden where you're getting produce and you're learning about agriculture. And then you go to the resource center, who's the library.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were literally showing people growth of community and development within the places that we chose.
That's cool.
So each of those locations have our benches.
They're not just randomly chosen.
No.
Obviously they have purpose in themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, awesome. Man. Just showing the process because we really want to encourage people to know, like, yo, it takes time.
Yeah.
You know, like things develop over time and it takes that, like you talked about earlier, just like a patience and endurance and just belief, man.
Belief that something good's going to come of it if you just stay the course.
Yeah.
See Lincoln Park have them. Well, you know what I mean? We'll replace the benches in Lincoln Park with all that.
Well, I will say, so our guy Matt, who was here the other day loading in a bunch of product, he was sitting on this bench here for a while. And when we drove back, he was like, that was really comfortable. You know, and Matt has cerebral palsy. So he's like, I don't just sit anywhere because he's like, I get uncomfortable really quickly because, you know, his muscles and tendons and stuff get tight. He's like, I really, really like that. And I'm like, well, that's good because that's going to be a big part of his life, I hope, coming up soon.
Amen.
So we can help build awareness around a product that I immediately saw the value in redemptive plastics and turning just this one product when this could be hundreds of different things. And I think I'm excited to work with you and see what good could come of that.
I appreciate that.
And things like that, we're going to try and put links and things so that you can ask some questions and reach out to us. And maybe you have some ideas and maybe you're doing something similar and maybe you can work with us and help incorporate the activities and the really the amount of effort that it takes to put into building something like that. I know how much it takes to just take liquid paint and make it into new paint again, and to take a plastic product and go through the process to make it into a new plastic product. I know the effort that goes into it. So we're hoping that there's opportunities for, like you said, maybe there's some sponsorship opportunities to help us grow that plan and that idea and make these things and the other products that I think will come to be with just a little time and care and passion. To make these available pretty much anywhere. And so we're going to rely on you, our nice people from our Abilite network, to turn a really pretty small and humble idea right now into something really incredible. And we want to bring you on that journey and show you how things have changed and gotten better and more efficient over time.
One thing I want to say, man, I would be remiss if I didn't include this, is just the importance of our team and our volunteers. You know, like this project, this program, whatever we want to call it, initiative, you know, it wouldn't be what it is without them. You know, literally, like they have taken it way beyond what we could have imagined it to be. You know, just their showing up, you know, having excitement, it challenges us to grow it and go deeper ourselves. Because I'm like, dang, like if they've found something to connect to, you know, how can we keep pouring more into this and bring more energy into it? And I think like when people show up, it just matters so much. And I really want to just say thank you to all of our volunteers. Thank you to my amazing team I work with, but also just the folks who stuck their necks out for us as an organization to just get behind all the craziness. and innovation that we're constantly trying to embark upon, you know, finding new pathways to pave for someone else.
Yeah, it shows that they believe, you know what I mean? I mean, for them to spend their time on it, people, have a lot of things they can spend their time on. For them to commit that,
literally,
it moves them, you know what I mean? So that's awesome.
It's sick. Awesome. It's humbling, man. It really
you're on the right track.
Yeah. This is humbling.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm being interviewed right now. I'm just like, what?
Cool. It's cool, right?
I really believe that an idea. So we talked in another episode about just people with attention deficit disorder and ADHD, and how a lot of those people are idea generators, but me personally, I'm not in a position to be able to complete that idea. And it does take all of those other people that recognize the brilliance in your idea and then can jump in and say, oh, I can finish this portion for you, or I have this connection so that we can make this actually happen. And I totally agree. It's like everybody that you surround yourself with and the more people you bring on board, the more you get surprised.
Yeah. And it shows the importance of like communication and like how words are so impactful. You know, like you just don't know when you say something to someone how that's touching them or like lifting them up. Yeah. You know, I really think about like there's a scripture in Ephesians 4:29 that talks about like encourage each other daily, you know, and like words are edifying, you know, but they also tear you down. So it's like knowing how to use those words that we're blessed with and speaking life to people is so important, man.
Language matters.
Yeah.
I mean, these little bands I have here, I speak at these rehab centers like once a week on how to stay sober and things like that. And these are just given to me from people that make it through the 30 days, and they don't have really much to give at that time. But this is the thing that was given to them in the beginning, and every single one of them has like something that I said to them that I could barely remember, but in the moment it was like that spark that they needed. And that's why I just wear them and every time, and I'll wear them till they disintegrate. I'll give them to you so you can make a bench out of them.
No, seriously. It's like that. Yeah.
It's just, it's super cool to, it's just a great feeling. It's a mutually beneficial situation to be able to spend your time on stuff like that. I love it.
Sentimental value things. Like,
it's little things. No,
nobody knows, but for you, you're like
10 cents. I'm like, you don't know, man. It's the story. It's the people behind it that make it give it value.
Symbolism, and that's where we talk about art and what it does. Like those symbols take on meaning that is infinite and of great value that you can't put an amount to. And I think that's what art has the ability to transcend and tap into. Like you think about financial capital all the time, but like when you're able to tap into the spirit, of folks or the social connections that you have, like that trumps all of those things.
Yeah. And I think all that stuff follows after that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
We talk about like, there's a book I was reading, it's called Sacred Balance. We're speaking about ecology and economics, but understanding the ecology of things is the basis of economics. If you don't understand like those resources, which stimulates economics, like you've lost it all. And so for me, it's like drawing these connections to the other aspects of how systems are developed and moved, and using that as a tool to create value around these other systems of value.
There's like a lot of connection. When I was on the trading floor, yes, you want to understand how the economy is connected together, but you really needed to understand how human psychology works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really the thing that helped me most. Not reading a book that told you exactly when to buy and sell. Those didn't really matter. It was like how mass psychology works in individual. And then later I read a book called The Go-Giver. And then Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People was an older version of the same thing. But it was just about like giving without the expectation of return and just the results that happen if you do that day in and day out. And it builds a world around you of people that support you and you support them. And that's really how it works. And the world is abundant, and it is not a zero-sum game where I need to cut corners to make it, and everything that you get takes away from me. It's not like that. And so you first got to believe that. And then when you do, to see the results of that is some higher power thing that happens. It's unbelievable.
I mean, we're talking about it like you are literally taking paint that people just get rid of. It's an abundance. I mean, I'm looking at like over 100 buckets of paint.
Yeah, there's about
You know what I mean? Like
400 containers over there, and look at all the people that it took to make that happen,
Right.
make that move, and we didn't ask anything from it. We didn't, the majority of the people that helped us with that loved doing it. Some were volunteers, and so what you say with the go-giver, it's like we do this and not expect anything back, and now we're starting to see a return of more passion and more support and more love, and it's things that we never even thought about. We were just kind of focused on doing something really good that nobody else was willing to take on. So
and also let's talk about the other side of it. How good do you feel when you go to bed at the end of that day? You know what I mean? You get something back from giving all day. There's a sense of peace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Moving around 400 containers of paint wears you out physically.
Yeah, you're going to sleep like a baby.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But mentally and physically exhausted at the end of the day is a really good thing for me. So.
I feel like that's a different feeling than doing a job that I was good at but didn't fulfill me. You know what I mean? I would be at the end of the day and I would need to, go drink or go do something to kind of relieve myself. This is like it's fulfilling in itself in a different way, and it's hard to explain until you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it doesn't feel like work. And that's the thing I kind of express to people.
You can do it for so much long. Yeah.
Right.
Because it's so fulfilling. It's very fulfilling, this work and this what we're doing. I don't know.
You said it already. It's the why behind it, and that carries you, and then it just creates this compounding effect. It's really cool. And you got to experience it to really understand it.
And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I know for some folks, Walt Disney is a controversial figure, whatever. But one of the things I really liked about his documentary that I watched is it talked about his brother had mentioned that
Roy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know this,
but Roy had made a statement about Walt, which was that he had already had the vision in his head. It just became a matter of time before the world saw it. Like Walt, like Disneyland, Disney World, all that stuff was already
in his head.
And it already existed.
Yeah.
And so what we were seeing was it manifested because it was already there. Here's entry into my brain. This is what I've been thinking for the last 10 now
years.
You get to experience
and now you get to
and that's kind of how.
That's why they're called Imagineers.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's kind of how I feel. So when I saw that, I was like, man, like literally in my head, that's kind of how I think and feel and move. Is like I already see this space. Like you being here is that to me. It's like it already existed.
We mentally connected before I even walked into this building. And I was like, there's a huge amount of potential.
And you may not know all of the details of the vision either at that time, and that's okay. You know that you're headed the right way, and those answers will come when they're supposed to come, and that's the the faith part that comes back into it.
And even thinking like the name. So I haven't told you this, but what you're a part of is called the House Collective, and the House Collective is based off of scripture, but it's also based off of, there was a house that was bright pink on Central Avenue. And like the owners they recently sold it, but the reason why the man painted it pink was for his mother. That was her favorite color. So it was a bright pink and white house. And it was like, whenever you came to Austin, you knew about the pink house. That's literally what you called it.
Sure.
And so it's not pink anymore. It's like this olive green, similar kind of color to my coat. And for me, like that was such a staple and a symbol in the community. I wanted to, one, honor that, and two, use this as a metaphor of like a house has many rooms with different purposes and functions. And so it talks about that. Like God says that, like, I'm building a home for you with many rooms. And like, I was like, man, like it'd be great if we created a collective in this space that honors that, of like one that's focused on paint, one that's focused on photography, one that's focused on mental health, like having a therapist in here. So we're kind of covering different needs and different functions of a house, but with the people we're inviting.
And then when all those family members are at the dinner table, what kind of extra things can be collaborated?
And that is, I literally am so excited to see.
I'm a pretty good cook, so I'll cook. Yeah, I even got my little chef's jacket that I can wear. Right?
Got the kitchen upstairs, so like,
just give me the space and I'll make it happen.
It's gonna be great.
So that's what excites me. So I'm like, the work that I'm taking, the meetings I'm taking, like all that stuff, I'm like, it really doesn't bother me at all. Like I kind of like, this is fine because I know what the outcome is going to be. Mm-hmm. The outcome is going to be so great and so full and so rich that I'm willing to take these days where I'm, not sleeping, or if I'm on these emails and like taking these calls and these meetings or whatever, because the people are going to benefit so much from this. And like that excites me and gives me great fulfillment and joy where I'm like, that was worth every minute of it.
Yeah.
In ways you can't even imagine right now.
Literally. I can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, kids walking past and they're like, oh, what's this building? I invite them in, or families, or not like when I say kids, let me be clear. My young folks that I work with.
Yeah. I say that too. Anyone that's younger than
exactly.
Me.
I'm let me.
I'm 42 and I still think I'm like 20 something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
we're frozen in time.
Right. So whenever people are walking past, I'm like, no, like, yeah, we're here. Take a look. And then I'm like, just come back to the front when you're done looking around.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that was here?
People just want to walk
was
around.
It the guy from Nicor that came when we were loading the one day? And he was like, yeah, my mom used to pay her ComEd bill here. I've been in this building since I was a kid. And it's really cool to see, that it's still here and that something good's going to happen from it. So
there's a bunch of those stories, and I'm like, but you wouldn't know that. And I'm like,
I feel like when it's something that people are proud of, the neighborhood almost protects it in a way. You know what I mean? Like they're like,
even subconsciously.
So they're just like, this is something that that makes us feel good for being in this area. Right. And it's like it almost becomes part of the community. It becomes part of the community and defended by the community because they love it. You know what I mean? Like the pink house. You know what I mean? Everybody knew you're in this area because of the pink house.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's why we talked about it earlier, where we have to let people
this whole
know.
Pink would be crazy.
Oh my God. We will do maybe a show or something about that to honor. Maybe that could be the first mural is the pink house. Yeah. But we have to, like, this is us holding ourselves accountable. Let the people know who we are and what we're doing. So the fact that we haven't been able to put any information outside the building yet, it's like, all right, that's the first order of business. Like, here's our story. This is who we are, and making these things legible, understanding like, hey, we have folks with different abilities to read in this community. So we have to be intentional of how we display information, because we have to use images, but we also need to have a component where there's a video so people can watch it, but also sonically hear. So we talk about inclusivity. Like, these are the things I'm constantly thinking about. And like, if there's folks who are blind, I want to make sure that they can at least learn about this as well. So how can we make sure we're kind of covering those basics, because they're not included in these marketing or just plans. And I want to make sure that we cover those bases as an organization.
Visual learners.
All the things, bro. Like, literally, I'm like, how do we do that? What do I need to learn in order to be able to include that as an organization? Like, what steps can we take? And that's the humble position that I'm always willing to put myself or our company is. Like I said before, we don't know it all. And so I come like this with my hands open versus this where I can't receive it. But with my hands being open, I can receive what people are trying to give or where they're trying to take me to.
And then the people feel a part of it. So then there's some ownership there. Like, if you have all the answers and they're listening, that's a different scenario than, this is my general idea. Then they have some ownership in it and they want to collaborate more, and and it makes them feel part of something.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm getting those phone calls and those texts. Hey, I think we should do it. Which I love. From random people, but it's like, no, like, that inspired us to think of this. And also, we're going to give you credit for that, because that didn't come from me. That's why I shout out Tom, Cody, Amanda, Leela, like all these people, Darius, Devontae, Aisha, like those are folks and more.
Keep going, man.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to keep going. My board of directors, like,
this is the speech you're holding. I mean,
mom, my dad.
The music starts playing, and they're trying to get you.
Yeah,
great teacher.
Yeah, but it's like all these people, like I said, and I'll sum this up. John used to say that we all play a part that only that part can play, right? And that's it. Like, it doesn't need to go any deeper than that. We all play a part. All of us do.
I think you have a responsibility in the next year to go.
400 trillion different versions of a human can be created. That's the math, and only 100 billion have ever been created. So that's like the fact that you came out like you is like winning the lottery 220 times in your lifetime. That's like the math. So like you're just the rarity of you being you in this moment in time. In America, being able to do these things,
literally, special.
I mean? Just that alone, is winning the lottery. So why not run with it?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up everything that we have to say right now, and I know there's more to come. I do have the responsibility of asking, help us grow these ideas. And one way that you can do that is by subscribing and sharing and hitting the like buttons. As much as I hate saying that because it's such a YouTube thing to do.
Hey, you did it though.
Thank you for remembering.
Honestly, for us, we're not just a YouTuber asking you because they're trying to grow their subscribers. We're trying to grow this so that we can grow something much bigger and much larger and connect more and more people and generate more and more ideas that perhaps that's where we're supposed to be so that we can connect these ideas and these people anywhere. So again, thank you for watching and thanks again for sharing. Go ahead. Share right now. And we look forward to hearing from you. And please comment and please send us ideas. And that's all I can say without
it's a
really
wrap.
drowning it. All right. That's awesome.
Thank you guys for watching. My God.
And then all these are B-roll footage that he's going to... He should have been, that's definitely in there.